Yes. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, get here to the participants. I see some people coming in right now, so we'll wait.
All right, no problem.
Hi, Melanie, how are you? We're trying something new tonight. We're gonna let participants speak because we have a small group for the presentation tonight. So I'll give the speech again, but if you have questions, you can, politely interrupt the speaker, but if you think you have a lot of background noise, you can mute yourself again. Okay? We have one person so far.
Oh gosh, this is
okay, she said thanks down in the chat. Okay, you're welcome, Melanie.
Oh no, I hope it's not a private tutorial. I mean, Melanie, I'll tell you everything you want to know, but
well, it's only 7 o'clock now.
Yeah, so sure. No,
we can wait for the other 5 to come.
Give them a couple minutes. It's been a rough day.
It's been a rough week. It's
Thursday. Do you guys always have them on Thursdays, or
we usually Thursdays, Wednesdays. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So
okay, cool. Thursdays are the new Fridays, so maybe people are just out. End of a long week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I moved last weekend, so I'm in boxes, and I have a bed, I have a desk, I have a kitchen, and that's good.
Yeah. I moved in November and we are still impacted. Like you can actually see, I need to sit better in front of. It's still, those are my last 2 though. So I feel but I mean, it's taken a year to.
Yeah. Well, my daughter pretty much came in and whipped every box out.
Nice.
Whoa. Okay. But I have a few left, but I used to do all the hanging and any of that. So I have nothing on my walls and I don't have curtains yet. So.
Yeah.
I have blinds, but I don't have curtains. So
at least something. So.
Well, we're going to give this a few more minutes. And like you said, Melanie, you may have your own private webinar tonight. I don't want an introduction, Jed, or
Yeah, sure. And I mean, if we need to reschedule it, we can. Or I'm worried it might be the same a different night, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I really struggled with it too. I even said to my boss, I said, "Do we reschedule it?" And he said, "Well, go ahead and go with it, and see what happens." I said, "Okay."
All right, here we are.
You're the boss.
Fair enough. But, Melanie, where are you from? Where are you at? And what do you do in your practice?
I am in Georgia.
Georgia. Yeah, barely.
Yeah, I'm driving.
Okay. She's driving. What a trooper, man. She's serious.
She is.
Melanie, way to go. She is serious about this. All right.
I'm kind of a speaking junkie.
Fair. Me too. It's a real problem. I am actually going to the Wild West conference tomorrow. I speak there on Saturday, but I was looking at some of the lectures and I was like, I don't really need any more CE this year, but like this looks really cool. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna, Melanie, thank you. I mean, we can, again, it's up to you, Caitlin. What do you think we should do? If we should just wait till maybe quarter after?
It totally doesn't matter to me. And I think you guys were going to record it for on demand anyway.
But we have somebody else. We have another one. Let me allow her to talk. Hi, Rachel. We're allowing attendees to talk tonight because we have a very small group. So we're discussing here with Caitlin, the speaker, if we're going to continue tonight, but hopefully a few more will come on.
Yeah, I will stay muted for the most part because my kids are home from school and they're playing video games in the background.
Well, that's if you know, and you can mute yourself at any time, but if you have a question, we're going to allow you guys to talk instead of it coming from me. So you can just mute yourself when you have your kids in the background yelling that they scored or, you know, they killed somebody or whatever. I know.
Yeah, it can get kind of loud when they're playing video games, that's for sure.
I bet. Are they boys?
Yes.
Yes.
I have 2 boys as well, and my husband was instructed to take them out to dinner tonight so that they would not be here. Because even though I have an office, like, you just never know what they're going to be doing and what noise it will entail. So.
Having problems with my Zoom, so let me see if I can get my Zoom's misbehaving, so give me a second. I'm trying to fix it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, it could be just real impromptu with those 2. We can record it, and you know, if you want to try doing it another time, we can always do that. I'll let the executive director know, but
Sure. Yeah.
You know, if you want to go ahead and start, you know,
Already.
I can give your introduction. I can read your introduction though.
Okay. All right. I guess because we're recording, I guess you could do that.
Right. So the topic tonight is how to improve your LinkedIn profile. And our speaker is Dr. Caitlin DeWilde. Is it DeWilde or?
Yes, DeWilde. Yeah.
Okay. So she is the founder of the Social DVM, a consulting firm devoted to helping veterinary professionals learn how to manage and grow their social media, online reputation, and marketing strategies. She works with large industry groups and individual practices alike. Caitlin and her team are passionate about translating the geek speak to veterinary speak and helping vets reach more clients and pets. Caitlin is a graduate of the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine and a recipient of the Outstanding Young Alumni Award. And she also is an alum of the AVMA's Future Leaders Program. She served as medical director for a large AAHA fear-free, cat-friendly certified hospital in St. Louis before stepping back to focus on her marketing passion. Today, she divides her time between practice, consulting, and writing. She is the author of a new book from AAHA Press, Social Media and Marketing for Veterinary Professionals, and a columnist for Today's Veterinary Business. So welcome, Caitlin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that we're here today, even though it's a little bit unusual, but still a good opportunity to geek out. As you guys probably have heard from the bio, that I am a pretty big geek on anything social media. So even though LinkedIn is not, kind of traditional social media, and it's not traditionally super popular with the veterinary industry, it is a social network, so I must love it. But also it's something that's on the rise and has some opportunities that I think are unique, where Facebook and Instagram and some of the others might fail us, both as individuals and as professionals, even as practices. So what we're going to talk about tonight is some tips on how to improve your LinkedIn profile, some of the nuances about LinkedIn, and some ways to use LinkedIn that you're not maybe as familiar with. So I am a super informal speaker and happy to answer any questions. So you guys are welcome to unmute. I've got the chat window here on my other monitor. So if I look over there on occasion, that's, I promise I'm not zoning out, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to interrupt at any point, but let's kind of talk about LinkedIn in general. We know that LinkedIn is a hugely growing platform. So over 700 million people are using LinkedIn, and that's worldwide. So if you're looking for opportunities outside the US, you still have some opportunity to connect in those different areas. So of course, in the United States is its biggest user, and this has grown by the double or triple million digits every year for the last 10 years. So the nice thing about LinkedIn is that Most of the people using it are using it specifically for their industry specific professional use. Most of the people on the platform are college educated. If they're not college educated, they are well educated within their own industry. Most of them, almost half, are upper management, but within that kind of upper management are also people who are decision makers or people involved in the hiring process. So while that's a big focus, it's not the only focus, right? It's 45%, it's not 100%. So it's not just a job search engine like a lot of people think. A lot of people think they only need a LinkedIn profile if they're looking for a new job, and that's definitely not the case. So there's a lot of opportunity with LinkedIn. So number one, you can have a personal profile, but then you can also have a company page. So your company page can represent a practice, it can represent a business of any kind, it can represent an organization like NAVTA, it can even represent a large corporation. So just like Facebook, they offer personal profiles and then business pages, the same is true with LinkedIn. So you can have your personal profile, and then you can also be associated with multiple or just one company page as well. We'll talk about kind of the differences between the two in a minute, but let's dive in specifically on the LinkedIn individual profile. So if you don't already have a LinkedIn profile, you should totally get one. It's free. You could do it right now, like as we're talking. Maybe not for Melanie because she's in the car, but anyone else can set it up. It takes about 90 seconds and you would have a profile. It's very easy to set up. It is user-friendly and free. So no reason really not to. Your personal profile at minimum should include the following things. Now you can make it a lot more robust. So the days of the one-page paper resume are gone. You can put loads of information about your professional life into a LinkedIn profile. But your personal profile at minimum should contain contact information. So phone number, email, your website if you have one. You can choose how much of that to be publicly visible, whether or not that's anyone can see it, only your contacts can see it, only people who request it can see it. You can change the visibility of that. Your photos are going to be more limited to your headshots, candid photos in the clinic, workplace photos, as opposed to, you know, what you did last weekend or the concert you went to yesterday or that kind of thing compared to, you know, Facebook and Instagram. Your skills are going to be specific programs that you're good at, specific job skills that you have, specific interests that you have. And then you can earn endorsements on that, which we'll get into. And then the features, this is the time when you should totally not be afraid to toot your own horn. So the things that you have achieved, certifications, awards you have received, different licenses, different publications, anything like that can go in your features. And I'll show you where to put those in a second. So if you're kind of on the fence, why do you use LinkedIn as a person? Of course, it's out there for the job search. A lot of people are familiar with that. That's what a lot of people use it for. But it's more than that. There are opportunities for professional development, connection with a wide network. Again, this is a worldwide platform, right? And it's a great way to stay current. There's a lot of people who have theorized that LinkedIn has grown so much in the last 2 years because of what's gone on in the rest of the world that maybe Facebook and Instagram are showing us too much of our broader life, right? And so we have to see things we're interested in mixed in with political posts or, you know, kind of devastating news updates or Aunt Linda's crazy essential oil gimmicks. Like, there's a lot of that on our other profiles. But for LinkedIn, because it's so professionally minded, we're literally only going to see things that are kind of passion interests of ours in veterinary medicine. So we're going to see really things that are limited and focused, and we're not as likely to waste hours and hours of time looking at things that don't add meaning or value to our careers, right? So it's a great opportunity to stay current there, and I think one that's largely overlooked. So your profile, when you're setting up your profile, the first thing is obviously to put your name in, and your name should be consistent with other places that might have your name in a professional sense. So if you have a website, if you have written articles, if you want to be found by a particular name, maybe you don't have anything else, but you want to be found by a particular name, you want to include that here. Obviously your regular name is fine, but some people will include like a hyphenated name here, but their website is a different name, or everyone in this college knew them as, without a maiden name, for instance. Sometimes it can even come down to, do you want to be represented as a brand name, right? So an example of that is Dr. Sue the cancer vet, that kind of brand name as compared to her actual name. So those are kind of nuances you want to think about. But if you already are professionally anywhere else and you're happy with that, try to match that name to that where you are elsewhere. You can also claim your username so that from a searchability standpoint, that's easier. I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but keep that in mind when you're setting up your name. Of course, the next thing to do is to put a picture up. A lot of people decline to put a picture, but that actually lowers you in the algorithm. LinkedIn does not like that. And you're more likely to be seen as a fake or spam account. So be sure to upload a photo. Your picture, you want it to look professional, but you want to be personable and friendly too, and you want to be pretty familiar. So for technicians, if your role is primarily in practice, I think it's totally appropriate to have scrubs and a stethoscope on if you want. But if people are not used to seeing you with like 10 layers of makeup and a full blowout and like beautiful clothing, you're going to professionally look quite different than what you do in professional settings, right? So I think it's reasonable to have focus on a clear, normal image of yourself in a professional setting. If that's a headshot and you're wearing business clothes, that's totally cool, but I don't think it means that you can't wear scrubs is kind of the point of that. The better tip here is to try to use a very clear photo that uses that rule of thirds, right? So you kind of want to have your headshot from here up. You don't want to have a photo that's, you're completely blown out like this example. So you don't want somebody's arm, a random arm in the picture. You don't want to be your full body like standing on a mountain because no one will be able to tell who you are. You don't want to have the picture of you at the bar last night. So think about those kind of things when you're choosing the photo for your profile picture. Now your background photo, your cover photo, just again, like Facebook, you have much larger dimensions. So you have more real estate to kind of give some flavor and tell your story a little bit more. Most people have nothing, and that's okay. You can, though, if you're like, hey, I'm a business in the front, party in the back kind of person, if you've got a professional headshot, you could have a more informal photo here, and that's totally okay. You can also just have an abstract design or graphic. If you're a nerd, the pixels are on here. If you want to graphically design your own collage or background, that's totally fine. You can also choose from LinkedIn's library of existing backgrounds. So they often will have some for social justice or various causes that are kind of seasonal, but they'll sometimes just have generic, cute images that you can use as well. But I think it's normal to, put up a photo that's you and your pet, you and your like a candid, an action shot of you in the clinic, or something that just means something to you. Like a lot of people will have a photo of a beautiful location that's, a scenic background, that kind of thing is totally okay. You can choose to do what you want. The point of this slide is to just point out that whatever you choose for your background cover photo, you want to keep in mind that it does appear differently on a desktop and a mobile. So if you want to include your company name like I did here, or you want to include a particular small image of yourself in a bigger picture, keep in mind that your cover photo might be obscured by your profile picture, particularly on a mobile device. And we know most people are using LinkedIn about 50-50, but for 50% of the people that are looking at their phone, your picture is going to be really, really, really tiny, and your cover photo could get, if you're trying to convey a certain image, you want to make sure that it matches up with what they can see. I mentioned candid photos. I think that these are a good investment if your practice hires a photographer to come in, or if you hire a photographer at any point. Like candid photos, they don't all have to be so professional and so tight and, formal. Like candid photos with your pets or in the clinic are great. Keep in mind that you can use those for posts and website content if you're trying to start your own brand. Well worth the investment, but they can just be on an iPhone level as well. So your headline, when you're filling out your profile, your headline is automatically going to default to your job title and your company. So I always put this here because I want people to, number one, if you already have a LinkedIn profile, look at that right now. What does that actually say? Because if you set up LinkedIn like 5 years ago and haven't updated it, which is totally fine, it may not be the right job. It may not be the right company. So you want to make sure your information is correct. The second part of that is that you have a real opportunity here to take that quick blurb, which will be visible to everyone, whether or not you're connected or not. You will have an opportunity to say something a little bit different. So I didn't want it to say I'm veterinarian at blah, blah, blah animal hospital. I wanted it to point out that I'm a vet, but I'm a social media nerd, right? Like I wanted to show why it was different, why people might want to connect with me. Particularly if you're looking for a job, you might want to say veterinary technician looking for employment in this area, or vet tech with passion for exotic animals or senior pets or whatever it is. So you have an opportunity here, be it short, but an opportunity nonetheless. You can get a little bit more detailed in your summary, and that appears underneath your actual profile. So it's a little bit harder to see, but it does give you more sentence form. So LinkedIn will tell you this should be everything somebody needs to know about your career in 30 seconds or less. So keep that in mind when you're writing that out. So you might want to just hit the highlights and let the rest of your profile do the talking in terms of where you went to school and how many years of work experience you have and things like that. Your location is another thing that a lot of people leave blank, which is a mistake. One reason for that is, number one, you're not going to be found as much in searches if you're ever looking for a job, because the way the algorithm works is that it's going to match people that are closest to the job posting first. But LinkedIn has people know that you'll be found up to 23 times more often if you include that location. So Rochelle says hers is actively recruiting credentialed veterinary technicians for the Pacific Northwest and Hawaii. I hope you get to travel to the Pacific Northwest and Hawaii. That for your job, Rochelle, that sounds awesome. But that's perfect. It's a perfect example of saying what it is that you do and not just saying, what would it say otherwise, right? Like recruiter at blah, blah, blah. That's kind of boring. So, but if I can see that somebody's recruiting in Hawaii, like, hello, I'm interested, right? Like, let's talk. So there's some opportunity for you to kind of add a little more detail and a little more personality. So let's go through, let's assume you have your profile set up. Let's go through optimizing it. When you have your profile and you're starting out, this is your home screen, and it'll say, well, if you're missing details or not, it usually will prompt you to kind of complete your profile, and it's worth the effort in doing. So I mentioned that it's going to take 90 seconds to start the profile. It's going to take maybe 30 to 60 to actually fill it all out. Okay, so spend some time here. But when you're in your home screen, you'll see that we're missing details, or you can go under your call to action button to your add profile section. There's all these sections that you want to make sure you fill out. So the intro, about, featured, background, skills, accomplishments, you want to spend the time to actually put information in all of those. So the first one up is intro, which is pretty obvious. The first thing that LinkedIn wants to know is, are you looking for a job, or are you hiring for a job? Because that's how it did start, right? That is a main use of the platform. So if you're looking for a new job, you want to add this information. So you want to say what kind of work you're open to, because you want to be specific in what titles that you're looking to match with. So if you're a technician, you might be looking for job titles that have LVT, RVT, CVT technician. You might have several, right? You might also only be looking in a certain area. Maybe you're already established and you like your community and you don't want to move to Hawaii. I don't know why you wouldn't, but Rochelle could help if you did. But you can add those locations for specific areas that you might be looking for a job. You can add your start date. So particularly if you know, say your spouse is on a assignment or a residency or something that, you're going to be looking next March, and somebody's like, I might be on the fence. I'd like to hire, but I don't know when. That might be fine for somebody, even if it's months and months ahead. And of course, the job types, you can indicate whether or not you're looking for full-time, part-time, things like that. The cool thing is you can also decide to indicate who sees this information. So whether or not everyone can see it or only recruiters. And while limiting it to only recruiters might limit it among your personal network, let's say you're at a job, maybe you don't want the current boss to know that you're looking or open to looking at other positions. So you can hide that if you want. If you're unemployed, it might make sense to be like, hey, anyone can see this, and totally open for that. So you can adjust that in your info or intro section. The next section is your about section. And here's where that summary piece lives. That's where you can add those kind of crucial statements that are more about what you're doing and what you're looking for. So again, LinkedIn says everything that somebody should know in 30 seconds or less. You have 2,000 characters, so much more space here, but you still have more details that you can add later. In the featured section, here's where you want to highlight any posts or articles, links, like if you're featured on a website, or you've been on a podcast, or you wrote a blog or a guest article for a magazine. Any of those, you can actually almost pin them to your profile. Media, of course, your presentations, video, audio, things like that. The posts and articles, I think, is important because some people will write longer form articles, and some people might just have very eloquent posts and detailed posts and something with like tons and tons of facts. But if you're a frequent LinkedIn user and you're posting all the time, then that stuff can get buried. So if you've got ones that you're really proud of, or you did a really good job with, or an article you wrote 6 months ago, but that's 30 posts down that nobody would scroll that far, you may want to consider highlighting that and featuring it in this section. So don't be afraid to do that. Now, your background is kind of the standard easy stuff, like, okay, I've worked here for this long, this is what I did there. Education, of course, your any experience that you have, and schooling that you went through, certifications and licenses. So if you are a licensed technician, or you have a VTS or anything like that, you can include that here, and then volunteer experience as well. So just as a quick, this is a screenshot of mine, so it shows, obviously vet school, but then it has other certifications. So if you have others, like you're cat friendly certified, you're fear free certified, HABRI certified, any of those are going to play in, and I'll explain how in a minute, but play in here. So be sure to include those, because those are important things that could potentially match you with an employer, but also just demonstrate and add credibility to your overall profile. Skills is a section that is really kind of nice because it allows you to add specific skill sets that you may have that'll set you apart. But it also, once you have those skills on your profile, people can endorse you for them. And we know, I call it the Amazon effect, right? People don't buy things on Amazon that don't have reviews, right? You always look for reviews. But in the world of not a product, right, when we're looking at a business or a person, we kind of need that social proof, right? We need to have evidence that someone else has worked with this person and they weren't crazy, or we need some sort of proof to say, okay, this person knows what they're doing and 8 people have backed them up to agree that, yeah, they really do, right? It adds that degree of credibility and the degree of proof that a lot of people need, and can really help differentiate you from somebody who doesn't have a similar skill set. I think this is particularly important for techs coming right out of school, or people that don't have a lot of other organizations or things like that. Sometimes if you're in a busy stage of life, or if you're in a rural area, your opportunities to do some of these things are limited, right? You have the education, you have the degree, you have the work experience, but what can you do to set you apart? And sometimes those organizational opportunities aren't there, right? So skills, though, is a way that you can still stand out and differentiate yourself from someone else with the exact same qualifications. So as a hiring manager, if I look at 2 profiles and I'm like, okay, they're both RBTs, they both have 3 years experience, but then one of them says, oh yeah, they're well-versed in Avamark, and that's what my practice uses, or they're great at client communication, or they love surgery, or blah, 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 I'm going to choose that person because I know they have those interests, they've listed them, and people have endorsed them, compared to somebody who didn't add that to their profile. So keep that in mind. LinkedIn recommends at least 5. You can do up to 50, and you can reorder them. So, mine, of course, are social media and speaking and webinars, that kind of thing. But yours might be client communication and anesthesia, or nutrition, or the softwares that you use, or inventory, whatever your particular interests and skill sets are. Don't be afraid to toot your own horn here. Same thing for accomplishments. If you have honors, awards, even if they're like your clinic gave them to you, or you wrote a blog, it doesn't have to be an academic peer-reviewed journal. It can still be something that you've written. Maybe you designed the client education handout. Maybe you wrote the diabetes discharge. Whatever it is, include that here and be proud of what you've done. Additional information, this sort of looks like a weird thing, like why would I request a recommendation? So requesting a recommendation means you're actually asking a colleague or someone you've interacted with on a professional level to give you a written recommendation. So here's where you take it from the Amazon 5-star review to the Amazon 5 stars plus a written description, right? Those are always even more helpful when you're on the fence about whether to buy something. Same thing could be true for somebody looking to hire, right? So you can ask colleagues for a recommendation. You simply have to type in their information. It does help if you are already connected with them on LinkedIn, but you can ask people. So if you've already done jobs where you worked with certain coworkers, or even an employer that you left on good terms with, if you did a preceptorship or internship, if you've worked with particular rescues or groups outside of your normal role, go ahead and ask for those recommendations. I think this is really important for people to do at the earliest in their career, even before they're on the job search. So if you're a veterinary technician student or vet student, I tell them, go ahead and set up your LinkedIn so you can be collecting these as you go, because you want people to write a recommendation when it's top of mind and your experience is recent, right? But then you can build these over time so that people can see what other people are saying about you. Because if somebody says, hey, they were a really hard worker, they showed up for work every day, they were anxious to learn new skills, or they were a great coworker and great to work with as a team, and they were great with the clients or great with anesthesia, whatever it is, that can really add some significant value to your profile. So don't be afraid to ask. If you are afraid, sometimes a nice way to subtly ask is to write one for someone else, and they are often prompted to write one for you as well. So I mentioned claiming your username. Now that you've filled out all your information, you have it out there, you want people to be able to find you, and you want to be able to share it easily. So anytime you look for the link to someone's LinkedIn profile, it's going to be linkedin.com/in/ whatever their username is. If you don't claim your URL, it will default to 3xy37b blah, 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 maybe your name at the end. It's much easier to say find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Caitlin DeWilde, right? Much easier. So you can simply claim that and choose whatever you want there. Again, try to be consistent with other profiles that you might have. So easy to do, just click that button and choose what you'd like to have for there. And then now let's talk about actually using it, right? So who are you going to connect with? So the two things that you do once you have your profile set up is you start connecting, and then you start actually interacting with the feed, whether that's posting content, commenting on content, or sharing content. So it's important to connect first so that people see what you're posting on your feed, right? And you see what they're posting on their feed, so you know what is going on and what might be some good things to share on your own. So LinkedIn will prompt you. It'll say, oh, we found some people or have the same job titles as you. It will ask you if you want to upload your contact list if you want. You can also follow companies. So if there's a company you work for or you like, you can follow them as well. Once you find somebody, you may just want to type in their name, like start looking for people that you know or you've worked with, and then find their profile and simply click connect. Now, some people will have it set so that you have to send a message. A personal message will always more likely result in people accepting your connection. But this is just like friending somebody on Facebook, right? As far as who to connect and when to connect, a lot of people say, oh, I only want to connect with other technicians or other veterinarians or other practice managers. Or some people are like, hey, I'll connect with anybody. My personal opinion is that you should connect with anyone in our industry, because the reality is we all have similar struggles and similar interests. When you have a broader network, you're going to see more solutions, new ideas, things like that. You're also going to have more people be able to see your content. So if someday you say, hey, I'm writing an article, or I need information for a presentation, or I'm looking for a job here, you have a broader network across a larger pool. Now, I will say I get connection requests from people outside the industry all the time. So, financial pros or real estate people or just regular business people, and they want to connect. That doesn't add any value to my professional network. It's unlikely that I'm going to connect with somebody on a real estate deal on LinkedIn. So for me, I try to limit my LinkedIn. I will connect with people I've met and not met, as long as I can tell they're in the veterinary industry. So just kind of decide how you want to move forward with that, so you don't have to clean out your list later. But connecting should be pretty easy. Think of 10 people that you know or have worked with in the past and see if they are on LinkedIn. I wanted to highlight some of the awesome techs that I follow. So I've got my list of top 10 here. Certainly, this is not top 10 vet techs. These are just 10 vet techs that I know that use LinkedIn. A lot of people will say, oh, technicians don't use it, or vets don't use it, or anyone in our industry doesn't use it. And that's not true. So there are some really great profiles to follow out there. And these people have all shared cool content that I've personally found enjoyable. So I wanted to list them here and give you a springboard. If you want outside of the technician world, I've got those as well. Because, I forgot to change Ken's photo out here, but for Stacy's, but you can see that there's a lot of really different ideas. So whether that's from the chief medical officer at AHA to Aaron Smiley sharing telemedicine information, Mary Gardner sharing stuff about senior pets, Matt Saloy, one of the economists at AVMA, or The Economist, shares a lot of really interesting stats and how they affect our life in vet med. So a lot of cool info out there. So even if these are people that you don't necessarily personally know, still worth connecting so you can see their ideas. If you want to try out the connecting process, you're welcome to scan this code with your phone and connect with me if you'd like. I'd love to connect with you there. Or you can type in my name. So you can do it either way, and I'd be happy to connect with you there and in the future. So once your profile's up, you've connected with people, now what do you do, right? So this is your home screen, and you'll see that start a post section. Just like on Facebook, you can upload a photo, a video, you can start an event, you can write a full article. Maybe you just want to say, hey, I'm interested in what thoughts you guys have on, forward booking. Or, hey, what's everybody doing right now to solve the staffing shortage in your area, or things like that. You can also post links. So if you found an interesting article on a blog and you want to share it here, you can do that. If you see someone else's blog or article, like this one from LinkedIn News, which is right below it, so that's going to look just like a feed. So there, anyone you're connected with, you're going to see content that they're posting. You can, just like on Facebook, you can react, you can emoji, you can comment, and you can share. So just like you would traditionally use. So let's talk about that toolbar at the top. So of course there's the home screen, which I just showed you, and then the My Network. This is going to be where all of your requests live. So if anyone is requested to connect with you, also anyone you're already connected with. So if you want to search for people that, whether or not they're a teammate or somebody that you're like, what is that tech's name I met at a conference, and you can kind of search for them in your network. The next tab over, of course, one of the most popular ones is the jobs tab. So here you can search for jobs based on skills. So that's where, remember, having those skills is important, because you maybe only want somebody that knows Avamark, for instance, or maybe you only want someone who's fear-free, or whatever it is. Also, same thing for title and location. You can search for jobs there, and you can even set up alerts for if you get any, I don't want to ever be a COO, but I did, just for the example, set up an alert. Hey, I want to know if there's any COO jobs in St. Louis. You could do the same thing for technician positions in your city or wherever you want to move to in the future. So you don't even have to search. It will tell you if something comes up that matches you. So nice tab here for you to keep that on board. And this is just one last reminder that you want to be really sure that you've set it up in a way that you know if people are going to look for you, how they're looking at you, and if you're open to that job search. So your dashboard, it's kind of weird. It actually is on your profile. So there's no great way to get to it other than clicking on your own profile, and it will say your dashboard, private to you. Nobody else can see it. But it will show you, okay, how many times have you matched in a search recently? How many times have people looked at your profile and who's looking? You can also kind of choose if you want people to contact you for mentorship or recruiting, share salary insights, all that kind of stuff is going to live in your dashboard. So be sure to check that out. So if you're a beginner, you want to claim your profile. If you are advanced, you want to make sure you've claimed your username. And you advanced users, I would also recommend writing a recommendation. You never know if that will result in a new one for you. For beginners, I would go ahead and endorse your colleagues for skills and make sure that you have your 5 skills on your profile. If you want to take it to the next level and become a LinkedIn pro, some helpful tools that might be handy for you are Grammarly, and that's a Google Chrome browser extension. It's free, and it is something that basically is like spell and grammar check, just like for Word, but anywhere online. So if you're using LinkedIn, it will make sure that when you're typing your posts out or sending a message, it will make sure you're spelling it correctly. Canva is a nice way if you do want to design graphics to share as posts, or even just your background cover photo, you can do that with Canva. And Zapier is a tool that connects to other apps. So it's kind of a middle tool. So if you wanted to connect your LinkedIn messages to your Slack channel, for instance, or your job posting to your Slack or to your Google Drive, you can do that with Zapier. That's a little bit more advanced, but certainly an option out there. Some additional resources that you should know about, you may be able to take advantage of something called LinkedIn Premium, which is a paid service. So LinkedIn is free, as I mentioned. LinkedIn Premium is $30 a month. I think you get a month for free, but basically what this does is allows you to see everyone who's looking at your profile, and it gives you more access to jobs. So if you're on the job hunt, this is worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. So not necessary for daily use. And my slide backed out there, but one other slide I wanted to put in here was LinkedIn groups. So LinkedIn groups, just again, like Facebook groups, is a really great way to join industry groups that are particular to veterinary medicine. And there are some veterinary technician groups. I'm in like the veterinary business group. Dr. Dave Nickel had started, it's called the Veterinary Business Success Group, where a lot of people talk, because there's some people that are like Facebooked out, right? They just like don't want to deal with it anymore. But this is a good other area for them to keep that conversation professional. There's a few inventory practice management groups. So definitely check those out as well. And that's under your profile picture. You can search for groups and then join them, and you'll see their content in your feed as well. So any questions real quick before I move on to using it from the company perspective or as an organization? Give me a second just to double check. No? Okay. So just like we talked about with Facebook, you have the personal profile, you also have company pages. Same is true for LinkedIn, right? So you have different tools and features that are allowed with LinkedIn. The benefits of using it as a business instead of as a person are, of course, going to be recruiting, search engine optimization. Again, you're going to be searchable on a Google-esque level. From your LinkedIn will result in a search engine result, which is another way for your practice or business to be found. And then again, professional connection. So just from a practice standpoint, a lot of practices are like, why would I ever do this, right? Like this, I don't need to do this. I always like to point out that when you claim a page, you're now creating another web link that references your practice, thereby pushing everyone else's, like your competition, down, right? So it's going to match on a Google search. So it's from an SEO standpoint, another added benefit there. Of course, many other benefits from the practice level we'll get into. So if you're thinking about, hey, I want to set up a page for my practice or your organization, or if you have an association, what you'll do is go into the upper right-hand corner, do the drop down there, and you'll see create a company page. And a company page will allow you to choose, are you like a online business, or are you small business, or are you giant corporation, any of those things. You could create this company page. You'll have to put in a fair amount of information about your page, your website, the industry, of course, and then it will ask you for logo and messaging. The one thing that is always throws me for a little bit of a loop is it will ask for your company type, and you'll have to indicate whether or not you are like a privately held company, an LLC, like whatever that might be. So sometimes that's not something that's top of mind, but it's something that you do have to use to create the company page. When you have that company page, though, now you can set up calls to action just like you would on a Facebook page. So clickable buttons, right? Most people are going to choose visit the website, but if you have an email list or a landing page or something that you want to use for job recruiting, you could put that link here, and then it's a quick clickable button from the company page. You can add additional specialties so that you, again, from a searchability standpoint, things that your business, your practice, your organization offers, just again, so you're matching more searches. You can even add hashtags. So obviously for my company, it's important that we follow anything that people are using the veterinary marketing or veterinary social media hashtag, but even just veterinary, because that's also going to help us find content. And I'll show you how in a second. But the nice thing about a company page, again, is it's just like a Facebook page, going to give you multiple tools that you would not have from a personal profile. You can post jobs, you can create events, you can also have multiple admins, which I would definitely recommend, because you don't want one person to control everything for the whole business. And if that one person gets locked out or leaves, someone else to still have access. So go into this upper right-hand corner, admin tools for all of that access, but make sure to add a couple of admins. There's several levels, and I just put this on here just because a lot of it is confusing, like what's a pipeline builder manager? Veterinary practices, most organizations are not going to need most of this stuff. This is usually if you're working with an ad agency or you're doing heavy recruiting. Designated admin is fine for most veterinary industries. So now, just like you can edit your personal profile URL, you can do the same for a business page. The difference, remember we talked about LinkedIn/in for a personal profile. It's going to be LinkedIn/company/ whatever the company name is. But again, you want to make sure it's custom. You want to make sure it matches whatever else. I would recommend it should be the same that your website is. If you are a startup, there's a great tool called NameCheck or NameChecker, depending on which site you go to, but it will actually search all of the social platforms and all of the web addresses so that you can say right from the get-go, like, okay, this will work on every one of them. It hasn't been taken. So it's kind of nice that you don't have to manually check all of them, but make sure that you're being consistent, bottom line. So LinkedIn does offer any company page to post one job for free. Any subsequent jobs does come at a cost, which is kind of subjective to your reach, how long you want the job posted for, where you're looking, but it can be very affordable and certainly something that is not used enough in the veterinary industry. But the nice thing is there's not a lot of other competition of people looking and advertising, particularly in our industry. There's certainly lots of jobs on LinkedIn for our industry, and that's probably true on any profile right now. But there have been times in our industry that job searching is not so easy. So this could be another way for practices to set themselves apart. You can post a job and again give information about the details. The nice thing here is, though, you can add those skills. So maybe this is what I feel like LinkedIn is a way to do really niche recruiting, because if you're looking for a technician that specifically has, this software, this certification, you don't have to filter through dozens and dozens and dozens of applications to find them. I know we're all not getting dozens and dozens of applications at the moment, but someday this might be an issue. And even now, this is the way to find somebody with a specific niche interest. So you can add those skills. You can even add screening questions, so you're not having to filter again through people that maybe don't meet your criteria. You can have them go to applications, go to an email, stay within LinkedIn. If you have a specific job listing page, you can add all of that information in here. And again, it's free, a nice way to differentiate yourself and give your practice another opportunity to post a job that maybe isn't clogged by, you know, one of the career centers or Indeed or whatever else. So, and maybe you're looking for a different kind of applicant. This might be a way to find them. So company pages, in terms of what to post other than jobs, right? Company pages do allow you to post regular, you know, event details, articles, things related to the company or your industry. If you need suggestions though, those the industry you indicated and the specialties you indicated in the profile, as well as the hashtags, will help automatically generate some content. So that's kind of a nice thing that LinkedIn does, that sometimes I wish Facebook would do, that it gives you suggestions. Now, they're not always winners and they're not always ones that you want to share, but it does give you some ideas on content. You can also get a ton of analytics. Most veterinary industry members don't really want to spend a ton of time here, but it does let you know, is this working? Is this actually driving traffic? Are people engaging with the content? Is this something we should continue to spend effort on or spend more effort on? You can also get in your activity tab there notifications. So if anyone has mentioned the practice or the business or the organization in a post, or has commented or kind of reacted to any of your activity and content that you've posted, again, giving you feedback on, is this a good investment of time and resources? So just kind of to wrap up, LinkedIn does have a lot of opportunities for both individuals and groups, whether that's a business, an organization, or beyond. And the opportunities include, of course, networking, group discussion, personal and professional development, being more findable on the internet, and of course, everyone loves the job search and the job posting. So your action steps today are to claim and update your LinkedIn profile, either one. Be sure to claim the URL, and that's for both a personal page and if you're managing a company page, claim that personalized URL. I would encourage all of you to go out and endorse some of your colleagues, give them some love, let them know that they're doing a good job and what their skills are, that they're the best at. Request some recommendations and hopefully write some as well, just to get a little bit more good vibes out there and a little bit more meat to your profiles as well. So if you guys have questions, hopefully we've connected on LinkedIn by now, but if not, I'm more than happy to answer them in the chat or live, or you can email me anytime. So what do you think? Do you have any questions, Lori?
I don't. I thought it was very good. I didn't know LinkedIn could do all of that. So
good. I'm glad
I've learned a lot tonight myself. And ladies, if you have any questions for her, now's your time to you have her all to yourself.
Well, I'm glad that that
Rachel has a question. Rachel, are you gonna go ahead and speak?
Yeah, I can go ahead and speak.
Yeah.
I wanted to, and I don't know why I can't get my camera to work, so I apologize. I tried 5 things, but it didn't work.
Okay.
But no, my question was going to be coming back to one thing you had said earlier. I missed it or didn't understand it. Was it's better to have your physical location or not have your physical location on your LinkedIn?
It is better to have it. So
Okay.
LinkedIn wants you to have it. And then I know for your role, it's probably not as important because you're probably not, looking for a new position. But it is better to, especially if you're in that area, you're probably going to find people that would match your postings more if you're tied to them from your company page. But either way, LinkedIn wants you to have it, whether you're looking for a job or recruiting a job or not. They said that you'll turn up higher.
Okay. And then I really thought the information was really helpful, because I hadn't even thought about putting volunteerism, because I do volunteer a lot. I do a lot, actually. Certifications outside of just veterinary stuff. I hadn't thought about some of those special things that have happened. And it was really eye-opening for me. So thank you for this, because there were things that were are on there that are great. I mean, I've actually got a pretty okay LinkedIn profile, but there were so many small bits that I think I've missed the boat on that you pointed out in your presentation. And actually, I'm going to go back through. I hope the recording becomes available because I want to go back through and relook at some of the things because I was looking at my LinkedIn at the same time you were talking and saw a whole bunch of misses.
Good. Yeah, no problem. And I think I just sent Lori the notes a little bit ago, so she might be able to send those to you too.
I did send the notes to everybody. They both gotten them, and the recording will be up on our website probably tomorrow or Monday. So you will access the recording and watch it again and get that information that you need, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. This was hugely helpful. So thank you for all your time tonight.
Yes.
Good,
So
thank you.
I thank you, Caitlin, and it was a nice, intimate little webinar. But, I will talk to the executive director. Maybe we can do it again, and when it's
Happy to
time and everybody's inside and
Yeah.
in a webinar.
That sounds good. Whatever I can do to help, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, ladies. Well, if there's no more questions, everyone can have a great evening, and tomorrow's Friday, and have a great weekend.
You guys too.
All right,
Bye.
take care, everyone. Bye-bye.